This is a
Okay, I'm going to kick things off here with our introduction. Everybody, welcome to the Dallas chapter of the FileMaker Pro User Group. We're glad to have everybody. Hope everybody's safe and healthy and getting ready for the holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and whatever your celebration is. We're glad to have you here. And today, we have Michael Wallace of Empower Data. Is it Empower Data or Empower?
Empowered
okay.
Data Solutions.
Empowered Data Solutions. There we go. He's been a long-time member of our group here, and he's going to be teaching us about FM Butler and a little bit of Claris stuff. We're glad to have him. I will say, as far as other announcements, this is about the time of the year that Claris typically starts asking for presentations for the next DevCon/Engage next summer. So if you want to be a presenter, start thinking about that over this next month. Next month we're going to be doing what's it? I think it's NRG Soft for the shipping software. Andy Knetzowitz, or I probably just murdered his name, but we'll the presentation then, so that'll be fun. And in February we may actually have Brad Stanford, who always does very unusual presentations, maybe doing one for us. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. Anybody else have any other FileMaker announcements before we kick things off here with Michael? Okay, well, without further ado, Mr. Wallace, you're up.
All right, so I need to, how do I show my screen on this though?
Click the share button down at the bottom.
All right, let's have one it is. Oh, I did not prepare this. I have to open system preferences to allow them.
You may actually have to quit and come back, but it's all good. We'll wait.
Oh, sure enough. All right, see you in a minute.
Okay, come on back. And here we go.
I don't know if anybody's heard the news, but AWS now has Mac instances available.
Yes.
For only twice the price.
Expensive pricing.
It's like $800 a month if you were to actually do it.
Exactly. About $30 a day.
Yeah, but the purpose of it is for testing. You spin something up for an hour, test it, and spin it down. So it's
for a day.
Right. So
you can test it for a day at minimum. So it's but hey, it's there now. It's exciting.
Yeah. Well, the question is, are they actually just putting a bunch of Mac Mini hardwares in, or did they actually get licensing from Apple to do a virtual? I don't know.
They have like a whole bunch of Mac Minis is what they have.
Okay, well.
Oh, look at that.
All right. So, Heather, I will say that I memorized your password that you accidentally passed in to your username there. I'm just joking. Today we're talking about how many of you have used Clipmanager or FM Butler's Clipmanager? We have one, two people. Okay, so just want to kind of go over this today. This is actually talking to them. It's funny, they are actually thinking that add-ons are replacing their functionality, which I can see that to a small extent, but it really is kind of apples and oranges, just because add-ons, I think, of something that I'm going to be, I guess I can see it. If I have a set of custom functions or something like that I want to bring, I could make that an add-on and just kind of bring them in all at once with a set of things. But just to go over what this is, basically, it's a glorified clipboard manager, but specifically for FileMaker. And as you can see, this would intimidate a lot of people, I think, just seeing all the XML that it copies, but it also has this view where you can see, you know, what it is you copied or whatever. And the other thing that I really like about it, which I'm going to go over real quick, is this part where you can save things, like, for example, custom functions. So when I copy a set of custom functions out of a file, for example, like here's my parameter, here's my passing parameters with let notation. So all the functions that I need for that are right here. And it has, I can flip through them. I can copy an individual one if I want to. If I want to copy the whole thing, then I can, and paste it right into FileMaker. So anything that I copy from here, I can paste into FileMaker and just use it. Same thing, it automatically monitors. If you have this turned on right here, this little blue icon, I can toggle that on and off. If I toggle that on, then it's watching FileMaker as I work. And anytime I copy something, then it's just in the background, just saving it. And if I want to go back and grab it, then I can. For example, a good use case would be if I'm about to make a change to a big script, I can go ahead and copy that whole script, and then it's just automatically saved for me. And then if I make changes and I need to revert something, then I can really easily go back and just paste the old one back in, and I don't really have to think about it too much. I also want the other major thing that I have on this, which it does copy anything you can see down here. It has like tables, fields, custom functions, value lists, scripts, script steps, layout elements, themes, custom menu sets, custom menus. So all of those things you could copy and keep a library of for things that you use regularly, which, you know, custom menus, that would be, if you use custom menus, that would be a thing I would think you would want to do. They're kind of a pain to remember where you had them last, or keeping a file that has all these different things in it for what you want to bring into a new file that you're developing or whatever. For example, if I wanted to, let me open up this. This is just let's see where this opens up. So this is just the assets starter thing. The only thing I changed on it is just this little notes tab and another tab, so I had a place to drag in a add-on. So if we have the add-ons here, the problem that I have with their stuff is that, let me find notes. So the problem that I have with their things is that, as I kind of mentioned in passing before, it is very much like spider graph automator is how FileMaker is setting up their stuff, where it's just constantly adding more TOs. So I think that this is a good use case for this FM Butler to help you move things around more quickly. I'm going to go through a couple of demonstrations on that. So I just added this notes thing here. You can see it's not connected as it is right now. If I go into here and I just drag this notes over here, then of course you're familiar with the add-ons and how it works. If I go back in here, now notes is tied in. The problem that I have with this, again, is because it's just creating a big spider graph. And it's been well documented that spider graphs are significantly slower than doing anchor buoy. And that's not just personal preference, that is actually just, that's been documented and tested. So some people don't like anchor buoy, but honestly, as a system grows and gets bigger and bigger, I honestly don't know how you could do a spider graph and make any kind of reasonable sense out of it at all. I mean, maybe you're much better at it than I am. But I mean, I'm actually very, I guess I'll open up one of my files and see how this responds. This is in Australia, so. And the screen share may also be a little slow. There we go. So I'm pretty fastidious when it comes to my graph, because I like to be able to see everything at a glance. And when you get to something that has all these TOs like that, you're really going to have a hard time with the spider graph and having it make any kind of sense at all. I like using colors for things, so I know at any glance that, you know, I can see, you know, these are all the same here, these are all the same, you know, etc. So I don't like spider graph, and I don't like that FileMaker isn't taking the time to do this in an anchor buoy, you know, method. But the people who are writing it are not end developers, and it takes our feedback in order to help them to make good decisions about things like this. So if I was going to take this and break this out, we've all done this kind of stuff. If you do work in anchor buoy and you want to come back and make this work, I personally don't like, just a personal preference, I don't like just doing this and dragging a new copy, and because this one is always going to be my primary. It's always going to default to that. So the first one created, when you go to do a calculation or something like that, it's always going to default to this one, even if I rename it. And so it's kind of a pain because I have to constantly go in and change where that calculation is coming from, because it always goes to the first one. So, but for this case, I'm just going to go here. I'm going to call this one assets, employees. Oops, without the 3. And I'll call this one just employees. And actually, this may not. Yeah, it did. Okay. So, and then same thing with this. I'm going to call this one assets, notes, and then I'm going to drag a new one over here for notes, just my standard notes. And I'm actually going to do one more to add to employees. So I'm going to call this one employees notes. I don't have to be my fingers on the right keys here. Okay. I don't use this full name wording thing, but a lot of people do. I actually use a 3-letter code type naming convention. But one thing that I did want to show you real quick, if I go in and I say go over here to my employee detail, and in this blank space here, I just go ahead and drag out my notes. I say I want notes over here as well. Well, what FileMaker is going to do is it's going to just like look through here to here to here to here. It doesn't even add a new TO over here to relate it to like where that layout is set. It's completely, and honestly, it just doesn't work. There's a create relationship, you know, the create is turned on here, and that doesn't apply to this from the other layout. So it just doesn't work. So we can go and add our own relationship here. We have our primary key to our foreign key. And what I was going to show you on this is that if I want to change this though, right now this is asset notes. And so, I mean, and for this is not really a big deal because, you know, we have this add functionality. Basically, I think just goes to the last record if it's standard with the way FileMaker does everything else. And it has one field from asset notes and everything like that. But if I take this and I just cut it, then I go over here and I have all the things I've been copying recently. And actually right here, actually I haven't copied anything recently. So this is my notes field here. If I look at my source, the easiest way to do this, I think, is just to search for should be found. Should have this is a portal. Go down. Well, am I not doing right? And let's just do asset. Okay, so the table here for the field is asset notes and like that. So if I take this asset notes, and you can obviously copy this from your own source. You know what the TOs are. And if I want to go over here and just to make sure that I'm doing it right, because if I misspelled something, I'd rather misspell it everywhere. And so just copy it from there. And then I want to do a replace for employee notes and say replace all. And so it didn't find it. It did make, usually I get a little dialogue here saying that, oh, I'm on do not disturb on my computer, so my dialogues are not coming up. But there's a little dialogue saying so many elements were replaced in this. I can now set my clipboard again with that button and go back in and paste it. And I now have employee notes with my related record from, see, I didn't find that one. So this one, normally, actually, when I even did the test, it worked just fine. But this is what you normally have to do. You have to go here and you have to do that manual assign. If you do your search and replace correctly, then you don't have to do that. And you can just replace all of the instances of one TO with another TO and do it all in one fell swoop and then paste it back in. And then you have a working portal from the new thing. And not only just a portal, it can be a whole layout. For example, I have this whole section of employees. Even before I did this, it would be better if I pointed this whole TO from asset employees to employees. And then I can copy all of the elements on here and repoint all of the, anywhere it says asset employees, repoint it to employees. Or if you want to make sure you're really safe, name both the TOs that you're moving between the two, something that is very, very unique and will never show up anywhere else. If you do that, then you can copy all of the elements, take it over here, do a search and replace, and then paste it back in, and you get all of the elements moved at one time. I mean, how many of y'all like me have spent a lot of time moving elements and double click on this, rename this, 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 you know, ad nauseum. And so that's one of the things I use this tool for the most, is when I'm repointing things to a new location, whether it's a whole layout or a portal. For example, I have a portal and something like this is not that big of a deal, but you have to remember that when you're dealing with this, footnote, you must have a very, very clean and very, very consistent naming convention. So I do, and I'm a stickler for that. But if you have a poorly executed naming convention, then it makes this a lot harder to do these replaces. But if you have a good naming convention, then you can go through and do a whole lot at one time. For example, this one that I had here that had all of this. This has a bunch of functionality in here, as well as, that has script parameters, it has hide condition, it has conditional formatting, where these fields are used all over the place. And this is a live example of a section of a file where they wanted me to take the functionality that was in one section, this portal of notes that had a lot of functionality in it, including documents and all these other things, and add it to 3 other sections in the database. And we want these notes over here and over here and over here. So I could take this whole section, copy it, and because I know that my naming convention, I know that I can go in here and change. First of all, I'd go projects to contacts, and I'd replace all of those. And it's not going to show me a dialog up there because I have a thing, but that does about 35 changes right there. And then I can do like ID project to ID contact, replace over all those. That does another like 35 or 40 things. And then I can actually just go in here and do project to, and I'll show you, what? I did PRO, but it's actually PRJ. So it actually would have been PRJ. We wouldn't have found anything on the other one. I would have found that because of my dialogues if they were on. Oops, before I do the last one. And I'm not keeping this data anyways, but to contacts, man.
Is that case sensitive?
FileMaker is not case sensitive when it comes to how you paste and things like that. So if you, like if I had all lowercase or if I did the wrong case, FileMaker doesn't care, it will just fix it. Just like in calculations when you type get whatever and you don't put in the caps, FileMaker doesn't care on that either, it will just correct it. And then actually what I, because of my naming convention here, I can just go PRJ underscore and switch it to CON underscore. And when I do this replace, it does like 135 replaces. And what that is doing is like all of my places like this right here for my relationships, where it's project underscore documents, whatever. And I just went into it and I copied that whole section of stuff I knew I was going to need over to contacts before I started this process. And then went through and did this replace like that. And then it lines up with the new tables. And then I pasted it into the new, into the layout with all the functionality, and everything just works. It has all my hide conditions work, all of my script scripts and stuff work. I can do a place for all the different names of my scripts. If I have scripts that are unique to projects that run on this process, I can copy those over first and just create a list of what you're working with. You know, okay, I have this kind of functionality, this kind of functionality. Instead of double clicking on every little thing and changing and having to remember way down inside where you have a hide condition or a conditional formatting or something that's buried in grouped items or whatever, you can replace it all at one time. Now, you may have something break. And if you do, it's honestly not that big a deal because you figure out where it broke, go back and replace that item correctly, and then paste it again. Or it's just broken, you manually fix the one or two things. FileMaker doesn't like cause corruption if you have a misnamed table in here, it just says tables not found. So this kind of functionality is really, really fast for moving or things like on the FileMaker exam when it talks about if you take this layout and you move it over here to be based on this CO over here, what will you see and everything like that. And knowing where everything is in comparison to each other, you know, obviously is a skill that we've all developed, but this will really help you move things around. So that's, I think, is its biggest strength. Now you can do this with just FileMaker, and I have, in fact,
Michael.
Yes.
Yeah, just before you you switched into something else,
yes.
I think in terms of the question about case sensitivity, it's not so much about FileMaker, but it's because Clipmanager deals with XML and there's a search tool right here.
Right.
If the search itself is case sensitive, and I think it is not, but if I am correct, the little magnifying lens with the drop down would let you tune that to say make it case sensitive or not, or even regex. Yeah.
Yeah, and regex is really nice too, because you know you can really drill down and get exactly what you're looking for if you know regular expressions. And if you don't know regular expressions, honestly, I think that'd be something to add to your tool belt. Because you can not only use it here, but you can also use it within FileMaker here with if you have the To Empower FM toolbox, which is I'm sure does everyone use this, the To Empower FM toolbox? If you don't, please do. This is another tool that is basically indispensable. I don't remember what even we did before this kind of stuff, but this is searching in place within scripts and everything like that. And you do have let's see. Here, I guess it is.
It should be built into FileMaker.
Right, it should be built into FileMaker already. But you can say match case here, you can say regular expression here as well. So you can search for like all kinds of different things. The To Empower FM toolbox, if you're not using that, definitely use that. I mean, you can look for again, you can run DDRs and things like that, but there's a whole lot more things that you can do as well. For example, a lot of times while I'm working on a script, a lot of times I will go ahead and build out my script with the comments. And I will just go ahead and comment everything I want to do. And I start each of those comments with the word to do, one word, TODO space. And then I just build out the logic of what I want to do ahead of time. And then I go back in and I fill those in with functionality and I remove to do. Monkey Bread software does nice formatting with the key phrase to do, and it's bright pink and you can see it easy. And anywhere I find a bug, say I'm working on something and I find, that's not really a bug, it's not causing a problem, but that may cause me a problem later, I can add a to-do comment in my script and document it, and then I can continue with what I'm doing. So I'm not forgetting it, but I can go ahead and keep working. And I know later I can do a search with this to Empower FM Toolbox for the word to do, and it will find all of them. And I just go, oh, that's right, I need to fix that. So it's a quick and easy, dirty way to, while you're working, add to-do items in your scripts exactly where they need to be fixed. And so I would recommend that as well. But so this will allow you to.
Can I ask you something, Michael, about to Empower FM? I shied away from using it because my understanding was that the licensing was not per user, but per version of FileMaker that you had installed on your machine. And I could be wrong about that. I just don't know.
Everything that I've seen on it, I mean, I've been in contact with them, and they're familiar with how I use it. So I don't think it's a per,
Yeah, it's per user. I have it running in 19 and 20 at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I have it and it uses on all my different versions. I haven't had any problems with it. I think that the spirit of that licensing would be that you don't have, like, it's probably per user per copy, meaning that if you're using it on multiple machines, then even though I'm one user, then they want you to have one for each machine. But if I have multiple copies as a developer, that's not a problem.
Hey, can I jump in? Robert, I think that when a newer version of FileMaker comes out, they do make you pay for the next version up. It's not just like a time-based thing. It's
I thought they were about a year.
Yeah, it is subscription. But I think the point is that when you get a later version, you do end up having to upcharge then.
Which to me, I mean, and it's not cheap, but to me, it's well worth it. I mean, I use the to Empower FM Toolbox like constantly. And I use this one a lot as well, but honestly, not as much as the to Empower. But just real quick on this, I was going to show you, if I go to my scripts, let's see if I have it in here. No. Oh, you know what? I took it. I thought I kept a copy of it. Let's see. No. All right. Let me open up another file real quick. Let's see. They would have it. And this is what I'm trying to avoid. And actually, I'm on that script already. Here, I'll just copy the whole script. And then I'll put it in my group. So this is what I'm trying to avoid from, vulturing from all of this other work, which I do tell my customers that I build your system on my knowledge and maybe even little pieces of code. I don't reproduce large chunks of code, but if I have little pieces, snippets here and there that I use it, I build your system on that. And I may use your system as a source as I continue to do that. So I put that caveat in there as far as like, yes, you own the software. Yes, you own the intellectual property for this because it was work for hire. That's how that works. But I do put that caveat in and let them know that I may use some of their stuff. So if I look in here and I look at today's thing I just copied, so this clip right here is something I was going to show you that you can do if you want to roll your own, the Clipmanager, you can actually do that with the Base Elements plugin because it can read and write that FileMaker type clipboard functionality. And I'm actually going to take this just to show you how this works. I can take this right here and drag it into my full scripts. And I'm going to call this split multi-line comment. And I'll show you what that is in just a second here. So now I have my split multi-line comment right here. And I'm going to paste that into, I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to paste it into my FileMaker scripts here. So This script is one that I use for my commenting. So I'll keep a lot of it I'll keep it in a new file that I use. I use it actually for large scripts that have, like, the really large script and I have a lot of sections to them. And I want to very quickly be able to find where those sections are. And I already have some, some things like, for example, if I say comment block, then I say, this is my comment, and it will do that for me with, that's with, Keyboard Maestro is what it is. So that's what I use to do things like that. So Keyboard Maestro, I guess this is turning into kind of a developer tools how I do things, but but I like that. I can also have one that if I copy text, like if I copy the text of here, like I wanted to upgrade this to something else, I can go in here and I say, this is clipboard to thing, and it actually just took whatever the text was and makes it into the same comment block. So I use that comment block for most of my comments. I think is very readable. For the really big sections, I actually, let me pull in this, and this reminds me of old school hacker days, but not that I did that. That's not this being recorded. I never did any kind of hacking. So but say I usually put space between them, contacts, like that. So this is actually just ASCII art stuff here. And I had that link here so I can have access to it quickly. If I go in here, I don't need this. But if I say new comment and paste that in, I have a nice big comment that as I'm scrolling through, I can see that really easily. Of course, it's limited to like one word or something like that. But now the problem is, if you're on Windows, what that does is it runs it into one solid line, just blah, and you can't read crap. So when I realized that, because I do all my development on Mac, but you have customers coming after you, and you're like, oh crap, that doesn't work. So what I did was I used the base element clipboard formats and stuff here, this little script, and I can give this to y'all if you're interested in it. But it just copies and pastes this and edits it. So I'm just going to cut that, and I'm going to run this script, and I'm going to paste it. And so it's split into multiple lines. That way that will work on, that's safe for Windows as well. And it's not quite as pretty, but it does the job. And I cannot emphasize how much I've had a really long script and how much time it has saved me to, I can scroll really fast through a big script, and I catch these things instantly. I know exactly where I am in the script, and I can zero in right where I want to go, and it takes up what, you got 5 lines here, 6 lines, but for the amount of time that it's saving me to flip through a script and find exactly where I want to go, it is really, really worth it. So anyways, this little script I was going to say is, this is doing the exact same thing, only in an automated fashion that this is doing, and doing like a find and replace, where all I'm doing is I capture the XML and I go through and I split the step into, like, at the end of each line, I add the end of one step in the beginning of the next, the end of one step in the beginning of the next, so that I have it's a multiple comment steps. So you have each of these is a comment, and I turn one into multiple comments like this. So you could build something like this, and if they discontinue their product, I probably will build my own, because they don't seem very enamored with their clipboard manager, like everything's going to be replaced by it. But if so, I could go through and store this same kind of information with FileMaker. When you copy FileMaker, if you paste it into like a container field, you get the image. And if you paste, and then you can copy the clip using these functions here, like this is just saying that the if this is not one of these this is the Windows version of the clipboard, and this is the Mac version of the clipboard for FileMaker. If it's not one of those versions, then it's just invalid. If it is one of those versions, then go ahead and get the clipboard with the correct clipboard type, and that will just get you the XML of what you copied. So that script step with, and if you are interested in it, let me know. I'm happy to give you like this little script here, like in a demo file or whatever, and you can play around with the base elements and the clipboards like that. But you can roll your own to do automation also to, so you needed to add in specific things to a script and you wanted to automate that process. You can definitely do that with this. Go ahead and copy something, do some processing on it in a script in FileMaker, and then paste it back in. So all of that is scriptable as well using the base elements plugin and working with that XML. So that is this and why I use it. So I use it again for storage of things. For example, here are some script headers for like, here's my JSON header if how I want to format each of my headers for my scripts if I'm using a JSON format. So if I was doing that, I go here and I take my, if I want to add it to this current section here, I go here and I copy those JSON headers, go to my FileMaker, manage custom functions, and I paste those in. Then I go back over here and I want to put a header on all of these items here. I go here to my headers, to my JSON script header, and I copy that. And then I can go over here and, oh, I need to be over here to do it. Set clipboard. And then paste that, and there's my, how I handle my parameters. So this is, I use my parameters with this kind of a functionality where I put my parameters in the script name. All my parameters go in the script name because then I can automatically test to see if they're there or not. So this functionality, this required parameters, this JSON assign script parameters is one that I wrote off of the old hashtag version of assign script parameters, and it checks the script name, and it knows the difference between required parameters or like what was it, curly braces, optional curly braces, or optional parameters like that. And so it will, if the required parameters are missing, then it's going to say not required parameters because I set this variable here. So it will say my required parameters are not set. I can exit however I want to exit within the thing. If I get a question mark when I'm doing my parameter set, that means I have invalid JSON that I'm being passed. And so I tell them that this is invalid JSON, et cetera, et cetera. So another thing with the Monkey Bread software, again, I might as well embrace it. This is turning into how I develop. But the Monkey Bread software has a really nice functionality if you turn it on that will scan for any unset variables. Like if I use a variable that is not set in here, it turns red. And so I can see, and it has a little message saying that variable has never been set. So if I misspell something, it's going to catch it instantly. It's really turning a lot more into an actual IDE. So you can actually program and see where your scripts, where your variables are coming from, anything like that. Well, that was a problem for me until I talked to them about it, and they actually already had it solved with this. If I put my parameter like this, saying, which I was doing anyways, this is, whatever. So I was defining my parameters up top anyways for my convenience, so I knew what my parameters were. If I had this keyword @param at the beginning of that line, the Monkey Bread software won't highlight that as a missing variable. So this script step right here is assigning all of those variables for me automatically. I don't know if, for anybody who wasn't familiar with the hashtag version of passing parameters, this JSON assign script parameters takes my JSON and turns it all into variables, local variables for me. And so but if I use that variable down here and say, hey, I don't know where that variable came from, this is red. So this documentation right here prevents that and lets me know, it forces me into good documentation because everything that I'm passing in needs to be defined here. And it doesn't turn up red. If something does turn up red, then I know that it wasn't set correctly. So for example, if I said here, and I just to show y'all what I'm talking about as far as, and come on, can't type. Bool. So this is what it looks like. Bool not found. But if I come up here and I said, oh wait, I was passing that one in, then, and I mouse over again, what did I do wrong? Oh no, my bad. I'm not paying attention. Param, and this param is bool. So then that goes away. So forcing you to document your parameters up here. This here allows me to document my parameters as I go so that at a glance, I know what this script is expecting. Like when I go to call the script, I know it's expecting these parameters. If I want to know more information about the parameters, they're right there. If I am ever missing a parameter or something like that, it's going to let me know right away. So that is the Monkey Bread software. If only on Mac does the highlighting. But that is the other thing there. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've gone over, Clipmanager or any of it? That went pretty fast.
Just one comment, and when you showed the multi-line comment for the very big ASCII thing, I didn't know about that, but I used something similar, but not in the script, into the relationship graph.
Okay.
And it's a product that is Mac only, but it's called MonoDraw. I don't know if you know of it, but basically it does a bit like what you can do with Visio, but using ASCII characters. So then you can paste them in as a graph note, you know, and you as long as you choose a monospace font to display it, it should display fine.
Nice. Maybe we can send that out to the group as far as like, what was it called again?
MonoDraw.
MonoDraw.
I'll type that in the chat.
By Heft Tone. So, all right, very cool. Again, this was primarily supposed to be over this right here, and I do think that this is worth its money for keeping a library of different things you want to work with, whether it's scripts or script steps or headers. I have loops here, for example, which, in all fairness, I did put these in here for this one. I would probably copy from here, but I do also have with that keyboard maestro, like if I want to do a loop, I just type loop like that, and it does this for me. So I can, you know, because I do my loops the same way every time. And if I have a nested loop, then I actually do the same thing inside here. And I just use, and I might do something like this for, like add something for this in the future. But what I do is I change all of my repetitions to 2 on the inner loop, and 3 and 4, etc. So I used to name things according to like what they were, like this record of records and all that kind of stuff. But I realized over time that it doesn't really matter. I'm looping. I can put my documentation over what I'm looping, and I can do this. I can see at any point within this section here that I'm on my second in my inner loop, and my outer loop doesn't have. If I go another loop deep, then I just make it 3. And so I can continue that nested loop, and it's kind of self-documenting on what inner loop I'm on by using the repetitions like that. So if anybody else have anything along this line, that I'd actually love to hear from somebody else if they have some way that they do things that's similar or different from this? I mean, I'd be happy to turn a little bit into a show and tell of development techniques or whatever, if anybody has anything that they, or if they want more information about any of these other tools or that I use or anything.
Maybe just one thing, because you spoke about the relationship graph in the beginning of the presentation. And one thing that I do concerning cascading deletes is I'll dedicate a portion of the graph to just cascading delete relationships.
Yeah.
And this way, if I jump into the system and no longer know where they're enabled or anything, like I just need to focus on that one part of the graph, and then I know, like, okay, if I delete this, then it's going to cascade, or because otherwise you have to hunt for them through the graph, or you have to run a DDR and then figure out of the relationship you have. So I just put a big fat note on the graph, and right under is like all of what is going to be there is only cascading deletes. And if the system has no cascading deletes, I still put the note, because then it says that under there, if there's none, there's none. But it's, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really, I definitely will take that away from this. I mean, right, I understood that, because anywhere this is a hard lesson for me that I learned back in the day, that if you have a cascading delete anywhere between two tables, it will delete between those two tables. If the parent is deleted, it will delete. So it doesn't have to be on the relationship that you see all the time. If it's, in your main TOs or whatever, you have them off to the side, then they're all documented together and they're easy to find, easy to turn off, etc. So, and they serve no other purpose except for that. And so if you want to stop deleting something, all you gotta do is delete those TOs with that relationship and you're done. So yeah, I think that's a great tip. Well, that's about all I have for this. I allowed some extra time because if we had time, I was going to go over now other thing. Taylor, you want me to take time to do that, or you want to put that off for another thing from Claris?
Well, if you can do 5-10 minutes on it, quick through, we can say we did it.
That way you can get Claris off your back. So
we can check the check mark, say we did it. Okay. We did some of it. We did a part of it last month. Greg did.
Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, this is just going on about how we had the Claris Engage and what it went over. This is the recap. So, man, I don't know. You want to talk about this? I'll do the slides. I don't know how to do this with. Now I can just read the whole thing, but that's like, it's seriously like 40 minutes of reading. So,
yeah, just keep on cruising through.
So yeah, so it has all of the new functionality in here, and there's our Heather.
Hey, Heather.
So, has the featuring expert women in technology. And with the JSON versus virtual list, et cetera, and these other things. So you can still look at these old, if you haven't seen them or if you want to rewatch them, you can still see it on YouTube.
We used to count how many attendees they were, and now they've got these other metrics for figuring out how big the conference was.
Right. Like how many individual sessions people are registered for, et cetera. So, saying that they are investing in products and people and responding with COVID. Partner growth was up 55%. I thought that was kind of interesting. This one was talking about the three things together with, you mentioned next gen again with Claris FileMaker, Claris Connect, and the next gen product and what they're doing to drive all that forward.
They still have yet to define next gen, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. It kind of bugs me too. So we're the stepchildren that are not in the loop. So this has a range of a lot of different. These are all the sessions that they had from the staff and such versus the on-demand from the developers, and other Claris engages that are popping up and not popping up, have been around, but are also in other places around the world. I don't speak Japanese, so I doubt I'll be going to that one. With the FileMaker 19.1.3 launch, it has like more complete add-on functionality. And it also said the preview for the quick start experience for macOS. I haven't been able to find that. Does anybody know where that is? As far as like where you're supposed to be able to drag things onto layout and it kind of automatically moves things around and like that. That's it. Go ahead.
I think to trigger it, you need to turn off the developer tools on your
really?
application, and you need to start a brand new file. That's what I haven't tried it. So
okay, that's what you heard.
Yeah,
and then Taylor said that if you build it that way, that you cannot edit it with regular tools, or maybe if you do, you can't go back. I don't know.
Yeah, your regular layout tools you're not going to be able to edit it that way. You can only edit it, and then it's kind of like getting an HTML editor that makes a new way to easily create layouts reports, and using that way does some things to make it easier, but it also means you lose, all your advanced tools and all your regular layout tools that you're used to. So I have a hard time seeing why I would ever want to use it.
Well, it outputs a regular layout at the end.
Okay, good. So we can go in and edit it after the fact if a client goes in and creates a bunch of stuff with that. That would be really bad design if they...
I'm not sure that you can. I don't think you can. You have to edit it without in that same mode.
No, you can't go back. You can't go back to that same mode. Once you've generated the layout, it's there, and then you access it with traditional layout tools.
Okay, so you can use the traditional tools. You just can't go back and make any more additions in the old, in the easy, quote unquote, easy way.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just the initial creation.
Got it. Okay. So like I said, I think it's going to be really important that we do some pushback to Claris on the spider graph kind of functionality. I would like for them not to encourage bad database design in these products that they have here. I mean, it really doesn't seem like it would be that much more difficult to drop a base TO somewhere, base your layouts on the base TO, and have the tie-in be a sub TO for, in fact, I'm 99% sure that that's already set up in some of the JavaScript ones where it does create a new TO when you drag it in, but not all of them, obviously. So
has anybody tried to name a script in 19.1.3 by clicking up in the tab where the script names are?
Is that gone now? I'm almost positive I have.
Well, if you do, you'll find out. You can type, but you can't see what you're doing. Yep. Open up.
So like here.
I
think I just did it.
Double click there.
Hold on there. I've had that problem too, even on the inspection panel.
But you have to be on 19.1.3.
I'm on 19.1.3.
Yes, there's a problem with that. If you restart, you'll get it back. If you restart FileMaker, you'll get it back, but you'll eventually lose it, and you'll highlight it as black.
Yep.
Oh, when you do this will be black, and you won't be able to see anything.
Well, it's not a problem because you're in dark mode. If you're in the light mode,
it's also a problem in dark mode.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep.
I haven't seen that yet. So also another thing I've seen for other people who are not using Monkey Bread fixed this for people who use their system, is how this gets that gets crammed up and stays crammed up. Like this will be over here, and all these scripts will be cut off over here.
Yeah, and if you grab it and just slide it, it'll fix it.
Right.
But it is a bug. That's another bug. Yeah.
But I don't think it'll fix it. I don't think it fixes it for people who don't have monkey bread.
Yeah, it actually does fix it if you don't have monkey bread.
Oh, does it? Okay.
But what you have to do is you have to drag it all the way to the left and then drag it back a little to the right.
Oh, I see. Like that.
Okay. But you know, a lot of people, you know, who would know to do that, you know?
Right. So, well, so some of the things that they have here: the calendar, barcode creator, rich text, simple chart, Kanban board. I'm actually working on a bug, or I don't like bug, the word bug. I use issue and request submission, because I had several customers who wanted it all added at the same time. So I said, you know what, screw it. I'll make an add-on and then split the cost of what I'm doing. I can do it better and split the cost among my customers. But I'm actually going to make it work with the Kanban board as well, so that you know, you have the option of bringing the issues and requests into a Kanban board for tracking them after they're submitted or whatever.
Gerard just did a big Kanban board one.
Who did?
Gerard.
Yeah, what I've done is I didn't use any of the add-ons.
Okay.
I'm looking at the calendar scheduler. I'm looking at the Kanban, and I also did a grid chart, and I'm not using any of those other things. I found a company that produces a lot of user interface, JavaScript user interfaces. It's called Sync Fusion.
Sync Fusion?
SYNCFUSION.
Got it.
And what you do there is you can subscribe for tech support, and their tech support is very good. What you do is you submit a ticket, an incident, and usually by the next morning you have an answer.
Nice.
And they give you sample code to, you tell them what the challenge is. You might even give them some of your code, and they come back with a recommendation. And they also have a location where it'll link to, and there's a sandbox that you can go ahead and play with in there to develop your JavaScript. So I've done those. I've used those instead of using the add-on because I have a vertical solution and I wanted to be a little bit more in control. And
Right.
Instead of creating a whole bunch of related tables that I'm not familiar with, and then trying to get the data in the right place. This year I started on in October 14th, and within 2 weeks I was being able to communicate with information from the Kanban or whatever it was into FileMaker, being able to create the presentation and stuff like that. So that was, I was very happy with that. The only problem I have is it works great on a Macintosh, fails miserably. The things that we're using fail miserably on the iPad and Windows. But I have a meeting next week with Robert Holsey to discuss some of this.
I'm actually using this on the thing that I'm using, which if you look, let's see, was it, there you go, this playground here. This is actually just JSON, and it's actually schema JSON, which actually defines what type of JSON this is, like here. But you can do a whole lot of stuff. Find something that's more like the array stuff here. Here we go. Oh, this one is tabs, but like I can, if I add a new element here, I can switch back and forth between them. I have array elements here. I can drag them around, and I can remove them, etc. I'm actually using this whenever I have a set of elements that will automatically submit when someone submits a bug. That has a whole lot of the get functions like that. You can toggle them on and off among the, what you want to submit with your bug and what you don't. So it collects all this information. when they go to submit the bug. And also I have it where they can add their own. So they put in their JSON path that they want to store it at, and a function that will evaluate whether it be just a variable name, like you want to capture the name of the email of the signed in user. A lot of people have that in a global variable. So you just go ahead and stick that in, and it will pass it along with the bug. So I have this kind of thing. This is all just in a web viewer if you want to have this. So it's a JSON form is where, so GitHub JSON form / JSON form. It seems to be a good thing. Basically, you can create a whole big database structure if you want to, all in this JSON, and then display it for what you want to do. It's great for settings because you can go through, and then of course when you submit it, you're going to get back the same JSON that in that exact format. So if you pass that back into what you said originally, and I may do a demo on this later with the whole thing, but it will automatically fill out the form for you as well. So whatever you had originally as my default functionality, or whatever I had as default, it will automatically fill that out and put it in there. So I found this really useful. I did a lot of searching to find something like this, but maybe it will help someone else. So I guess we should go back real quick and see if we can finish this off. Yeah, they have the photo gallery, timer, activity timeline, etc. So the quick start experience, again, I'm gonna have to check that out and see, because I'm sure that my customers are somebody's gonna do something. So it's only if you create a new file, or can you start it on a new layout if you already have a file in development, as long as you don't have the developer tools on? Does anybody know?
It's a good question. I do not know. I'd have to try it too.
Okay, I'll play around with it. Now I can put out to the email thread or whatever what I find if y'all are interested. So we have the open source for the Linux here for CentOS or CentOS, however you pronounce it, or however you prefer to pronounce it. There's some going back and forth on that. So I set up a development testing on it and didn't have any problems with it. So, but I haven't used it in production or anything. So I don't know if anybody has. So they did some changes for stability with reliability without page level locking. They did add the script step to purge the temporary database file, which is probably a good idea for you to set up if you have a 19.1.2 server. You set up a schedule script to just periodically blow out the temporary database file because it helps keep it running faster, etc.
It helps with getting server-side sorts and a few things like that too, which is nice.
So you mean it doesn't work if you don't use that, or?
No, I was saying.
Oh, 19.12. Yes. It does bring in those server-side sorts as well as some other functionality like that we've needed for a long time. I'm hoping that it makes a big difference for one of my customers in Australia that's really had problems with. They have really bad internet. But and then the ECC security, which I'm not going to try to say because I always try to. Oh, why not? Elliptic curve cryptography. Elliptic curve cryptography, which I don't know anything about. So, this. I don't know if did everybody see the going paperless example that they did. It's kind of interesting where they just scans a form. Basically, it's similar to what is the interaction with Claris Connect that has the form? I can't remember, but anyways, you can drag your forms into that, and it will automatically bring in. But if you have a bunch of paper forms, you could combine this with that. Basically, is what I'm saying. That allows you to bring in a form, define how it's all set up, and it will read in a whole bunch. Like say you had a whole stack of forms that you wanted to read in, as data into the database. I did a demo on that quite a while ago on here, FMPUG. So you can do that to bring data in. This one actually will create the FileMaker layout and fields and such off of a form like that. So that's in the future, or what they're looking for. Convert and deploy most apps within seconds to Android. I guess they gave up on, they were talking about FileMaker Go for Android, but I guess now we're just like that app iOS SDK, but for Android. But it's interesting that it says within seconds versus it's not quite as easy on iOS. So this has the different links. You can look at the Claris Academy or Claris YouTube channel and look at the Claris community for all this information about what's going on. And that's it. So quick run through with that.
Thank you, Michael. Okay. Well, anybody have any other announcements before we wind things up for this month? Okay. Well, look forward to seeing everybody. Have a happy holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever. And next month will be NRG Soft. Andy will be presenting, and if you want to hear about integrating shipping software with FileMaker, they've got quite the solution that they've done a lot with. So come check it out, and we'll see everybody next month. Take care.